Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today's video is a very special one. Today we will be covering about painting from reference photo. So I have a photo which I have taken while I was on a trip to Munnar, which is a high range here in Kerala. So yeah, these are the photos which I took there, and I am thinking of painting this particular one. First of all, I'll draw the sketch in my book, in my sketchbook, and then we'll go from there. We'll also discuss like how to modify the reference photo so that we get a painting cohesive painting for ourselves. Before we start, I'll just quickly show you the materials which I'll be using. I don't mention the materials in the description usually because I think materials are not that much important, and the most important thing is practicing with whichever materials you have with you. So yeah, let's start with what I have in front of me here. I have a very basic normal pencil, and these are the watercolor brushes I'll be using. So actually in today's video I am trying out this Princeton Velvet Touch. They're a little bit on the stiffer side, but I would suggest, I normally use this soft bristle brushes, and this Princeton Heritage set were the first brushes which I used when I started. So I have few of them here. I'll just quickly show you the basic brushes which I have started with. Can't find one. Yeah, here it is. So this set is from Princeton Heritage range. I have liner brush number 2, round brush number 3, a 1/2 inch brush, flat brush, and then there is a round 6 and round 12. And these were the first professional grade brushes I got for myself, and it was a huge investment at that time. But let me tell you, these are very budget brushes, but for me to get this these brushes was a big deal. Before this, I was using very basic local brushes, and I started with them and then upgraded myself to Princeton Heritage. Now I use different brushes from different brands, but yeah, I always go back to my Heritage range. But today I am trying to experiment with the Velvet Touch, but let's see. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to the Heritage or other brushes. Let me just show you what I have. This is a mop brush from Da Vinci, and this is number 0. I also have number 2. These are one of my favorite brushes, but I'll use the smaller one today because my painting surface is a small size sketchbook. And then I have a flat brush. This is Princeton Velvet Touch 10. Then I also have a round 8. If I use other brushes, I'll mention them in the description. So yeah, that was about brushes. About the sketchbook, let me just tell you about the paper which I have here, that you can choose your sketchbook according to that. I have 100% cotton cold press paper in 300 GSM. So that's the best paper which you can get for yourself or for watercolors. Now when I started, I didn't know about this 100% cotton thing, and even though 300% GSM, this ideas I didn't had. I had to watch a lot of videos to understand that paper is so much important. You might use normal local brushes, maybe a round brush, a flat brush. It doesn't matter which brand you're using, but paper is very, very important to grow in watercolors basically. And it took me a lot of time to understand this fact. Only when I invested in good quality papers did I see growth in my watercolors. So yeah, this is the paper I'll be using today. My brand is Brustro. You might not find this brand in your country, but if you're in India, you will find this easily. Depending on which country you are in, just look for different brands. Just remember to use 100% cotton paper, 300 GSM, cold pressed, best quality. Then I have some tissue paper. I have a fresh one and this used one. I like to reuse my tissue papers, so once it's dry you can like use it again. So yeah. Coming to the paints, you can call this a limited color set because I have very few colors here. So these paints are from different brands. After using so many different brands, I have ended up with this set. So I'll just quickly tell you what are the paints here. This is Paints Grey from Winsor & Newton. This is Paints Grey from Sennelier, I think. Yeah, but most of the time I use the Paints Grey from Winsor & Newton. Like, it has become one of my favorites. Fantasy Green from Daniel Smith. Again, a favorite of mine. Is a sap green. Now this sap green was from Sennelier, but I didn't like it, so I have got myself a new green. That this is like green from White Nights. Yes, a very beautiful bright green color. This is French ultramarine. This cobalt blue. This hematite genuine from Daniel Smith. Sepia. This is burnt umber, burnt sienna. I have some crimson, again from Daniel Smith, a bit of Naples yellow from White Nights, then there is cadmium yellow, and yeah, that's it. Sometimes I use other sets as well. Like, there are a few colors from the other sets which I like this one. This blue is so pretty for the skies, and then there is Viridian green, which I love. Alright, so today we'll be using this limited palette and we will quickly start. I am using a paper clip to just pull and clip my paper so that it doesn't fold or buckles up. There is another video where I have shared things you should buy before you start watercolors. Very special video, again, you should watch. I'll link it up here in the description or here somewhere in the iCard. Okay, so this is our photo. Let us draw it. Now if you see this picture, you will see that the horizon line is not in the middle, right? It's below the center. Like, one part is ground and other two parts is the sky area. The background mountain which you see here, these mountains, we will increase the size and bring it little bit up so that it's visible again. But again, it will be a very background image, there won't be much saturation here, but yes, it would be visible. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, we have our sketch ready. Sorry, I forgot. If I do this kind of voiceover videos, while painting, I forget to say, but I'll quickly explain. So as I said, I've identified where the horizon line is and marked the horizon line first, marked all the bigger things, like bigger visible things. My sketch is just to show me where all the shapes are, where all my elements are, and nothing in detail. And you might be seeing I have drawn like very dark graphite marks I have put in the paper. If you want, you can remove these graphite marks using a kneadable eraser, but I am okay if the marks are visible. So yeah, I'll be like just going over it directly. I said I'll be using these three brushes, right? So I am never sure which brushes to use, so I always keep all my brushes ready near me. Whenever I have the need, like, I pick up the brush quickly. So now I can see that I have a big sky to cover, so I want a bigger brush. This small brushes would not help me, so yeah, I'll get my large flat brush. This is 1/2 inch flat brush. One more thing, I always elevate my painting a bit from the surface, not so much, not so flat surface, but when I start the painting, I elevate a little bit, you know, using a masking tape, or this is the cover of my water jar. So I'll just put this here and we'll start like this. We'll start with the sky. So I'll wet my paper first. And I'll just go down the full surface. Alright, I have to quickly paint because I need to go out for a housewarming, so I'll be very quick. Alright, now I will start with the sky. So I'm using cobalt blue and we'll start from top to bottom. For clouds, there are like multiple different ways how to add clouds. Depending on what you're painting, you can decide which method to use. The most common ones are like painting the entire surface blue and then going ahead with a tissue paper, removing the pigment from the clouds area. Wherever you want your clouds, you can remove the pigment. Another one is you can paint around the clouds and you get those beautiful white clouds. Watercolors will dry one shade lighter, so be careful how much paint you're adding. Now let us see the reference photo. Okay. So I'll take my tissue paper quickly and I'll just crush the paper and then I'll remove some of the pigment. Oops. So if the paint is dark, the clouds will look more nice. Mine is very light, so it's not that much visible. This part needs to be like, you have to work it really fast. As I said, I forget to speak while I'm painting. I don't know how like other artists does this. Maybe because like they have experience, but yeah, still a tough thing for me. This much is okay. There's another thing, there is no correct way of doing something. So, however you're comfortable or whatever method works for you, that's the best method. I always struggle with clouds, so found out my own ways to make clouds. Clouds are not always white. They have, a darker side or a shade as well. So bottom part, as a rule, what you can do is bottom part of the clouds you can give a dark shade. So before going to the mountains in the background, I want the sky to be fully dry, because if I paint over this is still damp, and if I paint over this, the paint will spread. So I'll just show you how it will look. Do not try this because it will spoil the painting. If you see this, the paint is spreading here. Let me just try this. I'll take a bit of French ultramarine and mix a bit of brown, that is burnt sienna, and we'll go over this mountain and paint it. Okay, I'll just show you my palette once again. Now if you see, these paints are from the previous use, so I don't wipe off my paints. I just leave it as it is, it dries, and I close my palette. And whenever I'm doing a new painting or the next painting, I use the same pigments. I mix few or more colors and get a shade which I like, and then go ahead. And that's how, like, this a basic palette serves me well for different shades of color. And I mostly like nude colors, dull colors. I don't like very bright colors in my paintings. So yeah, that's how I get those different shades. Okay, now again, this layer I wanted to dry, and I'll dry up this layer of mountains, background mountains, and then we will paint again. Now you might see that this is not similar to what I have in the reference, but that's okay. That's how I want it. I do not want to recreate the reference photo again. This is an idea for my painting. So here and there, little bit of modifications. If you do, you get your unique paintings, but that doesn't mean that you cannot follow your reference photo entirely. If you like something, go ahead and draw the same thing. But here I just wanted the mountains to be a little different, and yeah, that's the reason why I made it like this. Next we'll be painting this part, this foliage part. It won't be much clear, but yeah, it will be like a mix of different shades of green and blue. So let's do it. So I'm just splashing some clear water so that it creates the cauliflower effect. If you see the reference photo, you'll see there are some trees here. But I'm not quite sure if I want trees right now or not, or if it will make this part too much, chaos. So I'm not quite sure, so I'll leave it for now and we'll think about it later. And now we'll go to the rock part here, this one. Okay, let's do it. For the rocks, I want a very stiff brush, and for that this Princeton Velvet Touch is a good brush, because you see these are like crisp brush marks. I want some crisp brush marks. I'm using sepia, a light wash of sepia, and will draw from light to dark. A bit of crimson. Here as well. You can paint this part of the rocks as well. And we'll mix hematite genuine in this. Hematite genuine I mix with like in different situations, but mostly for rocks it's like a good color. Next we are drawing the bushes. Actually those were not bushes, but it was like tree plants on both sides of the road. So Munnar is basically, it has tea gardens. Okay. And for road I'm using Payne's Grey. And I'll just use the lightest shade of Payne's Grey for the road first, and then we'll go to the darker shadows. Now in this painting I have drawn all the elements like a road or mountains or the foreground rocks all separately. now there is like different ways how you can draw landscapes. Depends on the reference image which you are using, also your techniques. Depending on how the painting is looking at the end, you can make some modifications with the details which you're adding. Like these bushes were originally, like in the reference photo, these are tea trees, but I have made it into a normal random roadside bushes.